You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual wisdom from a spiritual perspective. Nevertheless, y'all, I thought it was very imperative. No, it's been a while since I've been on here, but you know, I have another channel that I'm operating as well, Mocha's Ladies Lounge. Ladies, make sure you subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. That's my women's only channel. So, wanted to get into this right away, y'all. Felt it was imperative that I talked about how pretty privilege ruins high value men with low self-esteem. So it must not be the best of week for these high value men, starting with Steve Harvey, and we're going to talk about your boy Croy Brearman as well, who has a pending divorce with his gold digging wife Kim Zolciak. So I thought it was imperative due to the fact that you have a lot of, you know, YouTube dating experts, if you will, who are consistently preaching that men should always be, you know, pursuing women that are on a top-notch level. They should be pursuing 10s. They should be pursuing 20s and things of that nature. So, men are constantly being scolded by other men that they should be selecting and choosing women that are top-notch, that basically look good on their arms, women that look a certain way, women that are physically attractive, not out of shape, very appealing to, you know, the male anatomy, whatever. Nevertheless, there's a downside to picking these type of women. And this is the part that a lot of men are not discussing in these spaces. So, you have some of these men that were not always high value men. Some of these men, like Steve Harvey, came from poverty, came from a struggle situation. Some of them were raised in single parent households. Some of them did not have the best of relationship with their fathers. Not always the case. You also have men who have had the luxury of being raised by both parents and yet still did not see any value or worth within themselves, and it has caused them to make not the best of choices when it comes to selecting a woman to build with and have a future with. So whenever we hear the word low self-esteem, for whatever reason, it's automatically associated to women. There's this stigma, there's this narrative that's being promoted that only women have problems with their esteem. Only women don't see worth in themselves, don't see value within themselves. I'm here to debunk that narrative to let y'all know you do have men that also do not have any self-worth. They don't have value within themselves, and you can tell a lot about a man based on the type of woman he chooses. The woman he chooses says a lot about how he perceives with life, how he perceives himself, and how he values himself. A lot of it has to do with the type of woman he chooses. So you have this man, for instance, Steve Harvey. I never really cared for Steve Harvey. He was like another Derek Jackson to me. And he, like some of these dudes out here, they know how to cape for women. They know the right things to say. And he's a prime example, like Derek Jackson, that a lot of these men, some of them out here, not all men, if it doesn't apply, don't have to reply. You have some of these men out here who are capable for women, but they don't respect their own woman. They don't value their own women. They cheat on their own women, lie on their own women, use women for a come up to get to where they're going, and then leave the women who's been ride or die, who supported them throughout the duration of their struggle season. And once they finally have become successful, they want to share their wealth with a woman who has not been there during his building process, during his struggle season. So Steve Harvey has done many shows, has written books, has done all types of movies. So a couple of times, I'll be honest that I would listen to a lot of what Steve Harvey had to say, being the fact that he was an older guy. And I've always been intrigued to listen to older men. Like I listen to my uncles, and I don't have any grandfathers left, but I just like listening to older men because they're going to keep it 100. They don't have an agenda. They're not trying to get cash apps or anything. So they're going to tell you real authentic truth about how men operate and how they move. So I just suggest to any and everybody, if you want to get wisdom and knowledge on dealing with women and how to understand men, talk to somebody that's older, within your family or around the way, somebody who can produce true character. You can't listen to all older people, but based on how they have lived their life for the most part, you're better off getting advice from, if you got to get advice from older people who have receipts that they have been able to progress and do well for the most part, because life will never be perfect. It's better to listen to older people in your family or older people around the way who, for the most part, from their life history, have good character, than listening to people from YouTube, these dating coaches, these relationship experts. A lot of these guys don't be moving like they pretend they be moving. Steve Harvey is a prime example. He was selling t-shirts, coffee mugs, books, movies on how to think like a man and how to treat a woman and all this and that. And he's doing the complete opposite. And that's the same way a lot of these dudes do on YouTube. That's why I don't listen to a lot of them. I'm not members of their channel. I'm not giving them $3 every month just to hear them regurgitate manosphere points that they've heard from other people, and they're just remixing them and refinessing them in their own way. A lot of these dudes do not be moving like they think they do. They get on these platforms and, they're very egotistical. Some of them, the content and the topics that they do speak upon, they're very degrading to women. And in some cases, they're very degrading to men. I've heard some of these supposed to be male dating experts or gurus that basically put down men, basically saying that a man should treat a woman like a queen no matter what her past is. He should always pay the bills no matter if the woman contributes or not. They'll always put women on a pedestal, or either they'll downgrade men by saying you don't make enough money to have an opinion about what kind of woman you should get, or you need to be driving this kind of car. I've heard men degrade and attack other men that are on a different income bracket by stating you're not a real man because you're not making X amount of dollars a month. So who are you to tell me as a man, because I'm on YouTube, I can fake and pretend that I'm doing so well that I got it like that, where I can critique and tear you down and make you feel less of a man. Because I can come on YouTube wearing suits, I can come on YouTube wearing gator shoes, and because people love my animated character, they love how I roast people, they love how I drag people, I feel like I am privileged to belittle men and belittle women, depending on what my motive is for that day on trying to earn some cash apps. You know what I mean? So I really would take these dudes on YouTube with a grain of salt. You have some of them that are very genuine. They are very balanced. They're all not always capable for women and putting down men, or they're not always capable for men and putting down women. You know what I mean? They genuinely want to see black men and black women succeed. But you have the Steve Harveys, the Derek Jacksons, like I said, who don't live what they preach. And it's the women that are being slow and being gullible, because a lot of it comes from the fact there's so many guys that are degrading us and putting us down. So when you have one or two of them that act like they have our best interest, we go hard for them. Because women, we always going hard for someone who we feel like can emotionally relate to us. Understandable. But you have to know when some of these guys are running game on you. And Steve Harvey is definitely one. He's always, like I said, felt like he was the mascot of what he thinks he knows it takes to have a successful relationship, let alone being on his third marriage. So it's been brought to everybody's attention now, and it was a long time coming. A lot of us who've been kind of knew Steve Harvey was up to no good. We already knew Steve Harvey was none of what he was pretending to make himself be. It's been years of both of his ex-wives, his very first one, Marcy, and his second one, Mary. They've been exposed to him years ago, but Steve Harvey had dodged the bullet, and nobody really made a big skeptical out of it. Not until his current wife, Marjorie Harvey's ex-husband, Jimmy Townsend, who's been out of prison for 6 years, and now he's finally getting ready to put this book out called Snakes in the Grass, exploiting and exposing Steve Harvey's wife for this picture from this picture perfect image of her being this pristine queen who we all knew she never really was. But again, when you have money, you can pretty much, you know, when you're in the industry, you got money, you can pretty much buy your way out of people not really digging up your skeletons out the closet. Like I said, both his ex-wives been exploiting him, been saying Steve was a user when it came to women. They both shared their story, how, you know, they supported him, how they built him, he was a struggling comedian, and basically they was there for him during his struggle season. We knew that, but again, because of Steve Harvey's popularity, Marcy and Mary's truths was overshadowed. And that's how it is. You know, you have a lot of these stars now that are getting exposed. Like, supposedly, Jay-Z, alleged son now, is pushing for Jay-Z to take a paternity test, and he's taking it to Supreme Court because he's realizing Jay-Z is so big and huge in the industry that he can't just enforce, and the courts are not really enforcing Jay-Z to take a paternity test because of who he is. He has money to procrastinate, ignore, overlook, you know what I mean? He has that type of power and prestige. And when you have power and you're well known, it's really hard for the average Joe to conquer you. You know what I mean? And even that was said when his oldest alleged daughter came out, and his homeboys from back in Marcy Projects been kind of knew about this other child existing way before Jay-Z married Beyonce and had these kids that he only wants to acknowledge. But once that young lady kind of came out, and she really favors him, but we still don't know to this day. It has yet to be confirmed. So I got to say alleged again. This is a disclaimer. This video is just based off my opinions. I have no facts. I have no connections. This is just my personal opinion. Alleged. Let me put that out there. So all of his homeboys who knew Jay-Z before he became Jay-Z, the multi-millionaire entrepreneur slash rapper slash husband of Beyonce, all of them knew about his oldest daughter that existed. But like her aunt said, because a lot of people was going in on the young lady who was pursuing for Jay-Z to take a paternity test, everybody was coming at her aunt saying, well, why she didn't come at him years ago? Why she wait until she damn near her 30s and she got children of her own? Why is she now, wanting to pursue Jay-Z for paternity acknowledgement? You have to realize people with money are hard to reach. Anybody that has that much power and clout within the industry, you can't just make moves on them all kind of way. Especially if your money don't stretch like they money. Put it this way, if you want to pursue or go after a celebrity, you're going to have to really understand you're going to be putting in a lot of work. You're going to have to find a lawyer that's going to be willing to be determined to try to reach that high to even help you pursue the case. It's a lot. And like the girl's aunt was saying, they didn't have the money like Jay-Z had. They didn't have the connections like Jay-Z had. You got to go to a regular courthouse, go through a regular judge, go through an attorney that ain't nowhere near on the level of Jay-Z's attorneys, powers of attorneys. You're up against a lot when you are challenging a multimillionaire. And that is why this alleged son of Jay-Z, and he even said that. He said he's been, from courts to courts, and nobody really wants to touch it because of why? Who he is. The judges keep passing it up. He got attorneys that really won't look into it. Nobody's not trying to touch it. When you're going up against a GOAT like that, it's very, very difficult to reach them. You can't even 50 Cent's son, his oldest son, Marquise, said he can't even call Jay. He can't even call 50 Cent. 50 Cent got it so locked where he can't even call his assistant and say, I need to speak to my dad. Marquise has no way of getting in touch with 50 because 50 is just that big. And when you the GOAT, you're going to be covered. You're going to have a fence around you so high that nobody's not going to be able to climb it and just intrude and come at you all kind of way. Jay-Z knows it. That's why he's been dancing around these paternity tests. He knows he's very high to reach. He's not the average Joe where you could just walk up on him any kind of way and demand anything. The man has a whole army, a whole camp around him. But nevertheless, doesn't matter how big you are. Everybody has their day for exposure. Everybody has their day. Everybody has their season for exposure. So hopefully this young man gets the answer that he wants. And hopefully it works out in his favor. I would hate for him to go through all of these hurdles and he finds out that Jay-Z is not his father. But everybody's wondering why Jay-Z won't take the test. Why he won't take the test. That's another story though. I'm going way off of the map. But I'm just basically saying a lot of these men be having secrets and dirt from the past. They be having more dirt than the graveyard. But they get up here now because they're wearing suits and they're not in that struggle season. They're multi-millionaires. And a lot of people don't understand the life they lived before they got to where they got. They was out here hoeing. They was out here creating children. They was out here cheating on their wives with side chicks. Steve Harvey has never been a relationship expert. This is his third marriage. So what tends to happen is these high value men, they get up in the industry. And what happens is money has a way of making you change your style, change your preference. Now, when you're in the struggle, you lower your standards a little bit. And I don't say this to degrade any of Steve Harvey's ex-wives, but when your money is limited, so are your choices and your standards. For instance, if all you got is $10, you're not going to go to Ruth Chris. Let's say you hungry, you want something for lunch. All you got is $10. Them $10 will make you not mind lowering your standards to get a Big Mac from McDonald's. Because at the end of the day, you're hungry. You just want something to eat. So those $10 is still serving the same purpose as having $100. It just means you have to eat at a certain restaurant based off the money that you have available to you at that time. So if you're hungry and all you got is $10, you don't mind getting a Big Mac because you know that's all you can get because all you got is $10. Now, have $100 to go get some lunch. I doubt very seriously you're going to go to McDonald's or Wendy's. Your taste in food, your appetite is going to be different because you know you have the money. You may want some Ruth Chris this time. You may want some Carrabba's. No different when you get your income tax. You get your income tax, oh, you're going to eat out for a couple of days versus when you didn't have no money. You didn't mind sitting home, cooking and eating and making some baked beans with some red hot dogs. You know what? You get what I'm saying. Basically, I use that as an analogy. Is when you don't have the money, you learn to work with what you got. When Steve Harvey was struggling during his struggle season, he was okay with his average looking wives. He was okay with his brown skinned women. He was all right walking the red carpet with his first wife Marcy and turned around who he left to be with Mary. Nice looking women, but you can look at the wife he has now with the money he has now compared to the women he had back then with the money he had back then. Now that the high value man has reached and climbed his ladder of success, he has to have the trophy wife on his arms. And guess what? She doesn't have to be the one who held him down from the beginning. She doesn't have to be the one that was with him during his struggle season. All she has to do is have what I call pretty privilege. And it happens all the time. I've seen women get over just being pretty. For instance, how many of y'all remember the show Flavor of Love? With Flavor Flav, when he had his own dating show on VH1, which we all knew was pretty much fake, calling, supposedly trying to find a woman of he could be with or a woman he could have a relationship with, and we all found out it was just basically a fluke because he was currently in a relationship and had a child. He was doing it all for money. But nevertheless, Delicious was one of the well-remembered ladies of that show. And she's always been a very pretty, very attractive woman. Always had a nice, voluptuous body. And that's what she was known for from the show, as being the big booty Judy. Always having a big butt, curvaceous hips, and not to mention a very pretty face. So after she left the show, she's been able to, pursue, had a little music career going for a little while and things of that nature. And she had her own jean clothing line. So like a lot of ladies who left the show, some of them was able to make good use of their fame and popularity. Well, she not too long ago divorced after 2 years of marriage. Gentleman by the name of Raymond Santana Jr. And basically, he was one of the ones who was exonerated. I'm trying to remember. He was exonerated from I'm trying to look it up, y'all, because I know it's been a while. But he was one of the ones that was exonerated from the Exonerated Five. Yeah, he was one of the gentlemen from the Exonerated Five who was rewarded millions after being falsely accused of physically assaulting a white woman who was jogging the park. And at that time, law was really jacked up then, and they was just accusing anybody of anything, and the laws back then wasn't as thorough as they are today. But anyway, he lost many years of his youth because of that, and of being falsely accused, and was exonerated, and the state paid him, and along with the other 4 guys that was also accused, a large substantial amount of money. Well, he messed himself up, Mr. Raymond Santana, when he married Chandra Delicious Davis. After nearly 2 years, she was burning through his wallets. He basically chose her because pretty privilege. Pretty privilege. Other than that, I really don't see what other reason he chose her. Other than that. And that was the very thing that he realized was way more than he could bargain for. He was the one who filed the divorce. He filed it, not Delicious, because he realized this broad is burning through all my money. I'm going to end up broke. Now, she tried to come back and debunk his character by saying he was a narcissist, a liar, and a cheater, but yet she wasn't the one that filed the divorce. He did. He realized that pretty privilege was about to run his well dry. And this is what happens when you pick up the pretty privileged women. Pretty privileged women are very expensive. Listen, gentlemen, I can't stress this more than enough. That when you choose to go after the booty and the beauty, realize that taking care of this woman is going to be a full-time duty. I will repeat that again. If you go after the booty and the beauty, realize taking care of her is going to be a full-time duty. Pretty privileged women are very expensive. Ask your boy, Dr. Dre, who had to give his last ex-wife, Nicole, millions. Almost half for everything. Fortunately, Dr. Dre has such a huge empire, she wasn't able to break him. But you have men who are becoming so infatuated with what a woman looks like, he's willing to put his future in jeopardy. He's willing to put his whole future in her hands like Allstate. Raymond Santana saw Delicious was running through his bank account. But he didn't take any of that into consideration before he got with this woman. Now, I'm sure had he not had the millions he had, he probably would have been more careful. And this is what happens. Money makes you less cautious. In most cases, you would think because a person knows their worth financially, they would be more selective about who they choose to deal with because they don't want to get used for what they got. But in some cases, some of these men, their self-esteem is so low, they're just so glad to finally be getting attention from a woman that they normally never would get attention from, especially during their struggle season. And now that they have transitioned from the struggle season to a successful season, that is when these women pretty much start capitalizing off of them. Women don't want to capitalize off of you if you broke. Who's going to break into an empty house? It's just not going to happen. Who's going to rob a homeless man? Okay, the rich man has more to worry about. His chances of getting robbed is quicker than the homeless man. Because the rich man has something. The homeless man doesn't. So, it's a no-brainer. Common sense. And Steve Harvey has been up there totally simping to the third power. Married a woman that has a very questionable past. Marjorie has been with two drug kingpins, which is a strong indication that this woman chooses men with power and profits. In other words, you have to have money and a large amount of authority. She likes men with power. You have some women that are drawn to men with power and profits, but especially profits meaning money. So Marjorie, just based on her past, has always been one of those women that have always dealt with men who have money. And it didn't care, it didn't matter to her if they was getting money legally or illegally. As long as they was sponsoring her lifestyle, that's all that mattered to her. And she was able to lure these type of men simply because of how she looked. Light-skinned woman, green eyes, pretty privileged. Basically, she didn't have to lift a finger. She didn't have to do nothing but just be pretty. And she basically lied to her ex-husband and made it seem like the first one, that she, Jimmy Townsend, that she was going to hold him down. And after 6 years, after time went on, he noticed she wasn't keeping up with him in the prison. So I guess all that time being incarcerated, he had a lot of time to think and realize, how much this woman really played him in the end. After everything he's done, now he's down on his luck, how she basically ghosted. She did the same thing with Lori Harvey's father. Now, it's been yet to be confirmed. People kept saying they both are cousins. But Jimmy Townsend saying they're not cousins. So, y'all do y'all judgment or research on that. Some people saying they related. Some people saying they ain't. Regardless if they related or not, the issue is both of them was drug kingpins. And as soon as one got in trouble and was locked up, she jumped on the next ship selling, which was Lori Harvey's father, whom she also, in the long run, ended up divorcing as well, because he is still incarcerated. So Marjorie is definitely one of those women that she will stand by you as long as the money is in the bank, as long as you don't get locked up or incarcerated. So Steve, that's probably the only reason why Marjorie done hung in there this long, because Steve is making legal money and she's not incarcerated. So that's probably been the reason that Steve has had her this long. Because I'm sure if he was doing what they did and he were to ever be incarcerated, Marjorie is not going to stand around and wait, because she has a track record of she will leave a man as soon as he gets down on his luck. But as long as he's on the up and up, she'll be there. She'll be around. You have some women that are like that. So her biological father is Donnell Woods. And he's still currently incarcerated. And of course, because of pretty privilege, Steve Harvey took it upon himself to adopt all of Marjorie's children. And I didn't even know she has 4 kids altogether, and I think it's 4 different fathers or 3 different fathers. But she's not a holier than thou, top-notch qualified woman as far as what should be with a high value man, or what y'all consider as a high value man. So she has a pass. Because of pretty privilege, Stevie Harvey did not mind being her simp sponsor. He took her in under his wing, flourished her with a lifestyle that he deprived the other women who really should have got it, because they were with him during his struggle. Now, this is another thing I wanted to discuss, because there's been a lot of lies circulating this. The story, the false narrative Steve Harvey and his wife had put out, how they initially met. They tried to make it seem as if they both decided not to be with each other, because I think that was 2008, 2004, I don't know, I think 2008, when him and Marjorie first met. There was supposedly, this is the version they said, there was some initial attraction then, but out of respect, since both were married or since Steve was married, I can't remember both was married or if Steve was married, Marjorie chose out of respect to not deal with Steve Harvey at the time because supposedly both of them were married. That's the lie they want y'all to believe. You know, like, yeah, we met each other years way back in the day, but it was just bad timing. She was married, I was married, you know, so we, out of respect, did not date each other. That's a lie they're telling y'all. The truth is, Steve Harvey was a struggling comedian at the time. There was no mutual respect. He wasn't cashing those big checks. That was the problem. Marjorie was not interested in Steve Harvey at the time because he was in his struggle season. He wasn't making enough of money. Now, his second wife, who he left his first wife for, Mary was still sponsoring him while he was being a starving comedian trying to get to the next level. And when you're married and you trust your man, because for better or for worse, for sickness and health, that you signed up for, that is what a wife does. She's willing to support, sponsor her man, and not feel like she's being taken advantage of because that's her husband. She feels like if I invest in him, when he gets to where he needs to be, then we both can enjoy the fruits of his labor. Just like Judge Mathis' wife did with him. Judge Mathis was a nobody. He had run-ins with the law. It took his wife, who saw past his past and genuinely loved him for who he was and took a chance by supporting him, putting him in law school. Linda Mathis did all of that. But unlike Steve Harvey and a lot of these other men out here, he stood by his wife. And to this day, who is getting the benefits of his success is the wife who was with him during his struggle. And that is how it's supposed to be. Judge Mathis didn't get up there and say, oh, I'm in the game, I'm making millions now. Let me cash my wife in for somebody younger. Let me get a wife more lighter, a non-colored woman. Let me, once my money changed, let me change my how I choose my women. LL Cool J, still with his same wife, with him through his struggle season. Snoop Dogg, still with Shantae, during his struggle season when he was in and out of prison, part of living the gang life and all of that. Had all, had built a life with just that woman and still with her. Didn't trade her in for somebody light-skinned, younger, or non-colored. So I'm not about to sit up here and beat all black men, because all black men don't do that. They still got their same wives, Morris Chestnut. Same beautiful black wives. Samuel L. Jackson, still with the same wife for years. So you got men of high value that valued the women that was with them during their struggle season. Steve Harvey got up there, started making that money, and he got beside himself. And I believe that's why he's getting exposed. Karma is coming at him. Steve Harvey dodged a lot of bullets. He's been sliding under the radar. Every time he get in some hot shit, he pulls back out. He almost got in that mess when he went down there, for years, preaching on his radio show, don't support Trump, stay away from Trump. Got in Trump's face, did the whole flip, did the whole 360. Went to go meet with the man. You could tell he was embarrassed once he realized that everybody started coming at him saying, man, you a hypocrite. Now you telling us to support Trump, coming at rappers, coming at people who was tweeting about Trump when he was one of the main ones against Trump. Sat up there, met Trump, and went to tap dancing, and that was that. Steve Harvey has always contradicted himself. That's why he ended up losing a lot of good deals he had going for him. He ended up losing the Steve Harvey show. Then he messed himself up when he made that comment, made a joke about brown water, the water being brown in Flint, Michigan, knowing that was a very terrible situation for them people that was going through that at the time. See, this is what money does. Money makes you lack compassion for people, because you live in a mansion with clean water. You ain't cared how you came out your mouth about what people in Flint, Michigan was going through with that contaminated water. That's what money does. Money makes you think you can say what you want to say until that backlash come. When he made that comment, then he made another comment, another joke about Asian people. That also went against him. So basically, Steve Harvey has shown several times that he is very hypocritical, and he will stunt and flex on people who he feel is not in the position he's in. Nevertheless, Steve Harvey has always put up this, imitation, high value man of morals and standards and all of this wisdom and knowledge, and he has showed himself over and over again that he's definitely not a man of his word, and he's never really been true to himself. So with that being said, it's no surprise that he ended up with a woman like Marjorie Harvey. He ended up with a woman who pretty much is just like him, pretends to be this virtuous woman, that's clean and pristine, and as we already know by now, this woman definitely has a history. She's been involved, like I said, with two men that are former kingpins. One of them, Jimmy Townsend, is coming out with the book Snake in the Grass. She flip mode on him after they made an agreement to still keep in touch with each other. She got with Steve Harvey, got all comfortable with his lifestyle to the point to where she stopped keeping in touch with her last husband. Not only that, Steve Harvey has took it upon himself to accept Marjorie's past, and the reason he was able so willingly to do that was because nobody never really knew. People heard about it. It was rumors going around. But now that Jimmy Townsend has completed this interview with Tasha K, and he has the book coming out, he is producing the receipts, Steve Harvey can no longer put his wife on a pedestal. And this is what happens when you have high value men with low self-esteem. Evidently, Steve Harvey didn't feel worthy of himself to choose a woman who still could have been very well attractive, still could have been a well-rounded woman, not have such a reputation. Instead, he basically gave Marjorie Harvey a pass based off the fact that she is a pretty woman. So basically, she was able to earn Steve Harvey's empire just simply on pretty privilege. And it's a lot of men out here that are allowing women to build off of their empire simply because they're just pretty. They don't have really nothing else to offer. Can't offer any business ideas, business ventures like Kimora Simmons. She actually had businesses, other things going. She was an entrepreneur. You get some of these women who do marry these type of successful men, and they make the best of it. They don't just spend his money. They don't just influence him to not be a part of his other children's lives. They actually are an asset. They encourage these men to get along with everybody in their family, encourage these men to have a relationship with all of their children. They actually not just are with these men to benefit themselves. They're actually with these men to also make sure that these men are winning and benefiting as well. Now, I have heard that Marjorie has so much control over Steve Harvey to the point to where he doesn't really have a relationship with his other children, but she's made it her business to make sure that Steve Harvey acknowledges her children. Not only does Steve Harvey have to acknowledge her children, but he also had to adopt them, meaning she made them she made him, Steve Harvey, become obligated to taking care of her children as if they are biologically his. Now, I'm not saying this is the worst idea, but my thing is this. What was wrong with Steve Harvey just being a good stepfather? Why did it have to resort to the point that he actually had to adopt your children? Your children are not babies. They're not under the age of 5. They were teenagers, young adults, so have it. And she had just that much power to make Steve Harvey, that's supposed to be this high value man of morals and money, she was able to influence him to adopt her children, which means that if this Negro rolled over and died today, all of her kids that are not biologically his, they're going to get half of his inheritance. Now, from what I heard, he does not have a solid relationship with his own son. I forgot the son name, but he doesn't have a good relationship with him, and he doesn't have a good relationship with his twin daughters. All of this has come out, because of Jimmy Townsend, Marjorie's ex-wife, ex-husband, is now, pretty much airing all the dirty laundry. Had he not aired the dirty laundry, we would not have known any of this, because they always put up this picture perfect persona. The other son is Winton, who has came forward saying how abusive his father was. So it's a lot of shit coming out about Steve Harvey right about now, and a lot of it started coming out due to the fact that he chose a woman with a very unholy past, with a very unvirtuous past. This is what happens when you decide to deal with a woman based off of the fact that she is pretty, and you don't care about her past, you don't care about her history, anything that she has in her past that can possibly jeopardize how people perceive you as a businessman and as a grown man, just in general. So you have Steve Harvey now. He's getting the raft of all of the energy he put out there is coming back to bite him. Everybody is on to Steve Harvey. You have all these comedians like Corey Holcomb and Cedric and all of these comedians are exposing him now. Now that everything else is already coming out, about him. So at this point, everybody's just going in throwing punches, because Steve Harvey has been smelling himself for a very long time. But again, just because a man is successful, it does not mean he's happy with himself. It does not mean he has confidence. You can tell a whole lot about a man's confidence based on the type of woman that he chooses. Steve Harvey has clearly displayed he does not have a lot of confidence within himself. He does not see any value within himself. He may value his dollars, but he don't value his self-worth. And it's very sad when a man values a woman more than he values his own self. And that's the vibe I'm getting from Steve Harvey. Then you have, like I said, you have Croy Bierman, who's now taking it upon himself to file a divorce and get rid of Kim, which everybody knew what Kim was all about. Anybody who's been fans of the show Housewives of Atlanta, Kim has always been one of those type of women who has always opted for men who have a lot of money. Most pretty privileged women, that is what they want. You have these women like Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa Pippen, Evelyn Lozada, baby mama to Carl Crawford, Marjorie, all of these women that are drop dead gorgeous, top notch, what men would consider dime pieces or tens, whatever. And I'm sure everybody's opinions is going to vary on that, but really, as long as a woman has pretty privilege, she's allowed to get a pass. Same thing with Portia Williams. You have a lot of these guys who, are lusting over Portia Williams about how beautiful she is, how nice her body is, and even though she's a very beautiful woman, but she has proven time and time that she's an airhead. She didn't feel bad about taking another woman's husband right from up under her nose, knowing the ink wasn't even dry on his divorce papers. So you have these women that men give a pass. I've seen women that get a pretty privileged pass. They're allowed to do a lot of disrespectful things, and men don't come at them like they come at women that are overweight, unattractive, not that appealing. Truth be told, as much as these men go around here making a mockery out of women not having value, how men should hold themselves to high value, truth is, a lot of these dudes who preach that nonsense, if you put a pretty attractive woman right in their presence, they're going to fold. Everything they act like they're never going to do. I'll never give a woman any of my money. I'll never let a woman just move in my household. I ain't taking care of no woman who already got kids from other dudes, from previous relationships. You have a lot of these dudes who will sit up here and talk all this yin yang, but depending on the opportunity when it encounters itself, especially men like Steve Harvey, like Croy Bierman, who's not used to getting attention from very attractive women, or women who they deem to be valuable. When they do get a woman that approaches them, even if she has ill will, even if she's malicious, she has gold digging tendencies, he's going to overlook that because he's just astonished at the fact that a woman that even looks like her would give him the time of day. And you have men who get in this type of situation, and you know, as long as this woman is attractive and she knows how to stroke his ego, and she knows how to make him feel like the king of the jungle in the bedroom, it's very easy to get over on these men who pretend to be high value. It's very easy to manipulate them. And if you're a pretty woman, it does not take much. You don't have to do a lot. And I think that's the part that a lot of people overlooking. All of these women that keep getting over, using men, taking advantage of men, they're not the overweight ones so much. They're not the unattractive ones so much. Since those are the women that men like to drag and bash, it's the ones that are attractive. They can have a past. They got multiple children for multiple men. They can have criminal history. And, you know, as long as he knows he's successful, he feels like his money is enough to clean up her past image. And that's what Steve Harvey thought. He thought because of his money and because of his prestige that he could make people overlook Marjorie's past. And for a while, a lot of people didn't talk about it again until this book came out. But this is what happens when you have high value men with low self-esteem. They easily fall victim, not so much victim, but volunteer, to the woman who's only been able to produce pretty privilege. This is what happens when you a man, you lack integrity, you lack spiritual discernment, and you're more concerned with image than actually having a healthy woman who, for the most part, doesn't have a perfect past, but for the most part can show you that she has some good characteristics within herself. It's a no-brainer. You meet a woman who's been with 2 drug kingpins and she shunned you when you were struggling as a comedian. That already lets you know what her motives are. She's all about a man with a dollar. She didn't want you, bro, when you was broke and in a struggle. Both her children's fathers are kingpins, former drug kingpins. That's a no-brainer. I don't know what the hell Croy was, but I don't know why he didn't do his research. Did he not know that his soon-to-be ex-wife was in a relationship with a married man, a rich married man known as Big Papa, that was flourishing her with gifts? Did he not know, seeing her face and her lip injections, all that Botox, that she was going to cost him thousands of dollars? Another thing, a pretty privileged woman is very expensive. As much as a lot of these men claim they want 10s, they want 10 and a halves. And I'm not saying you should settle and get with an unattractive woman just so you don't have these type of problems. Because unattractive women, they have their problems too. But the problem with the pretty privilege is not just the fact that she's pretty. She's very expensive. She's very expensive. Not only she wants you to take care of her, she wants you to take care of all of her children. Croy did the same dumb thing Steve Harvey did. He sat up there and he adopted both of her daughters, and they practically teenagers. What's wrong with the man just being good to your kids? Why he got to adopt them, especially when they that far up in age? I don't get that. Only time will tell, y'all. This is going to be interesting where this is going to end, where this is going to land. I tell you that for sure. One thing we do know in conclusion is Steve Harvey used all the women he needed for the woman that he wanted. Be very careful how you gain success, especially if that success consisted of stepping on toes, burning bridges, using other people to get to where you are, and not returning the favor in return, because you have to do what's called karma, and karma is definitely going to find your address. So anyway, y'all, before you exit, please make sure y'all hit that like button. If you have not already subscribed, please make sure you subscribe. Until next time, y'all stay blessed. Enjoy the weekend. Ladies, don't forget, subscribe to my channel, Mocha's Ladies Lounge. I'll be talking to y'all soon. Have a good one.